A young team, and they really have to step up here. Let's have a listen in, because Jacob Spooner City, of course, they are chasing a place in that grand final. Interesting look at the bench with De Vries, Iwata, Kerry, just about ready to get underway. There's no rain currently. I cannot guarantee that will be the case over the next 90 minutes or so. So Miramar, sometimes, Jacob Spoonley, when you've got nothing to play for, you release the shackles a little. A young team, who knows? Maybe they can come out and just enjoy themselves for 90 minutes.
And what a place to do it in Kiwitea Street against Auckland City. We see a different formation from Miramar today. They've gone with a 4-4-2. I imagine they're trying to build out from a solid defensive structure. Typically they go with a 3-5-2. But I think we can expect a lot of that today, as Gillian and Manikim in particular are going to test these fullbacks for Miramar. Manikim's such a danger on that left side. Look for him to cut on his right and try and combine with Kilcolly.
Yeah, and looking at the Miramar back four, it's a big unit. They're all big, solid players, so it may well be that Auckland City look to get the ball on the deck and play around them on the deck rather than trying to go through them, because you look at Choke, Wood, Wilson and Tobin, Jacob, they're a big, solid unit, aren't they?
They are, and I'd love to know how many Chokes we're up to that have played for Miramar Rangers. Wouldn't be surprised if we get into double figures.
Mason Smith, who's crucial for Miramar up front in the absence of Hamish Watson. He will lead that line alongside Michael Kennedy, who is one of the players coming in to the side. 3 changes from the team that was beaten 3-2 Melville last week. They had the lead though, didn't they, Jacob? Just couldn't close the deal in the last 20 minutes or so.
And they've been unlucky at times, but at others they really have encouraged pressure and given up opportunities way too easily.
Kilcolly into the area, chance on the left foot. It's well saved, and even better with the second dive from Joseph Knowles. He just lost the first one but recovered quickly.
That's a first indication that we get about how slippery it is today. Joe Knowles, usually very comfortable, very secure with the ball in his gloves, spills that one and gets lucky. I think he pinched it off Manikim's laces.
And just highlighting also the danger of the Auckland City side, as I described, looking to pass their way through and around this Miramar back four, captained by Liam Wood. There's Manuel with an early touch. He'll be busy at the base of that Miramar midfield. Manikim now with good pace down that left wing side, easily skipping by Tobin. Now has to just reset, and Miramar able to reorganise. And Auckland City, as we know, play with a lot of patience. And they tend to make a lot of changes in the attacking third, Jacob, but almost one constant for them has been the centre-back pairing of Brotherton and Mitchell for Auckland, and they've really established themselves, haven't they?
There's a very settled combination for Auckland City at the back, keeping out the likes of Christian Gray and Angel Belanga as well. Both Mitchell and Brotherton have clocked up the minutes together. Would say that they've looked tired at times, fatigued by this long season. Dewey, we saw that against Auckland United recently, and then last weekend against Christchurch United as well.
Yeah, Riera resisting the temptation to just freshen up at the back in that sense. Here's Gillian now down this right wing side up against Choke, down to the byline, and a lovely ball towards the far post, cleared away by Tobin, and then the shot driven in by Vale, but did not get as far as Knowles in the Miramar goal. Conditions right now, seriously, as good as they've been all day. There's no wind, no rain, but you do feel that it's just the lull before another storm comes through.
And it's been coming through in waves. Dewey and I have got to know each other quite well before the pre-match began.
There's Manikim now, a shooting chance for Dylan Manikim, and just steered that one straight into the midriff of Joe Knowles. But the danger signs are there for Miramar. In the opening 5 minutes, Knowles has had 3 or 4 saves to make.
It's been very patient as Auckland City build up the play, but they do change gears in that final third. And they've got the pace and ability to do that. The physicality of Kilcolly, and then Manikim just cutting in from that left-hand side, getting onto his right foot fairly regularly in this open stanza. Just want to comment about the field, though, Joey. Has stood up tremendously well. Really is a triumph to the ground staff here at Kiwitea Street. Not only has it put up with the downpours today, but yesterday was atrocious.
Oh, and the ground staff here, and let's give a shout out to all of those men and women around the country that look after our recreational facilities, let alone just the National League. But the ground staff here, they care for this piece of turf with a passion. They really do. The team will be out there with the little divot forks, the pitch mark forks at half-time, try to repair the carpet-like surface, and it is a testament to their hard work.
I fear that Tom might have his work cut out for him today if we do see a repeat of the weather that we had pre-match.
Yeah, Tom might want to take a bucket out there as well as that fork. There's Mason Smith now on the halfway line. It's a good ball played into the middle of the park, a chance for Falconer. They spread it down this left wing side, but the pass from Akers in the end was a little wayward and choked all the way back to Knowles.
It's our first look at Sam Mason-Smith, a player that will need to be important for Miramar today if they are to get a result. Number 14 for Miramar. There needs to be an outlet. He's big and physical, can lay the foundation not only to give Miramar a reprieve, but he's also got a creative spark in him that can lead to the outrageous, and we've seen that already this season.
And he'll have to be patient too, because I imagine, Jacob, that he's going to be isolated a lot, and he'll have a lot of possession on his own. He's going to have to wait for teammates, isn't he?
And that patience, I think, is going to be tested even more by the fact that this is a young Miramar team. He's going to need to encourage. He's going to need to bring them on.
Maintaining their shape nicely, Miramar, just sort of a medium press, if you like, inviting that sort of a ball from Auckland City, because that's easy for Knowles.
Already busy. Joe Knowles, a player that's looking to put forward his case to Darren Baisley for a ticket to the Under-20 World Cup. There's about 7 goalkeepers in the mix for 3 spots.
Talking the World Cup, Liam Wood, who skippers this team. I know that his father, who I know well, is on a plane in about an hour to Qatar to head across to the World Cup. I said, couldn't you organise the flight so you could watch your boy play in the National League? I won't give you the answer. He was all eyes, all attention on the World Cup. But, there'll be a few travellers, no doubt, heading over to Qatar, and not sure what they think about no alcohol in the stadiums, but it's going to be a different World Cup.
It's definitely an interesting one. The differentiation between the corporate hospitality and the main seats.
Of course, once it gets underway, I know that the likes of you and I and millions of others around the world are going to be focused purely on the football, and it is going to be fascinating watching it unfold.
Really has crept up on us. I think it's the first pre-season, mid-season rather, World Cup. We've just seen the amount of players that are falling to injuries that they'd usually be able to recover from in time for World Cup. It was at the end of the season. Benzema, we're hearing, is the latest to fall victim to that injury bug.
As first sign of rain during the match, and I can tell you that any means of covering electrical equipment are being brought into play. And this is what I was warning you of, folks. When the rain arrives, it's not just a shower, it's a deluge. And we're seeing just that here now. And the players will have to adjust. Gillian into the area, almost cutting back onto the left, down to the byline. Now he shapes for the cross. Header on goal, goes wide. And Kilcolly feels, and I think rightly so, that he should do better.
Gillian twists and turns, gives Choate a lot to deal with, gets it back onto his left foot, stands this one up for Kilcolly, just can't guide it on target. Joe Knowles relieved to see that ball dash past his left-hand post. And we have trained for this, Dewey. We will be moving around a couple of things inside the comms box.
Well, I'm not sure if I should reveal our secrets or not. There's an opportunity here for Miramar down this left wing side, but Jacob, while you were just chatting then, I was busy with the gaffer tape on our commentary box. It's one of those days. In all seriousness, there is a lightning watch in force today for the match, and it's in force for the health and safety of players and spectators, but also the crew. They do an amazing job here for Sky Sports and Sky Sport Next right through the season, but we will alert you folks. We won't just run away and leave you high and not very dry, but there is a health and safety protocol if indeed thunder and lightning gets a little too close. That's about as close as Miramar have been, so there's an opportunity there with the ball to the far post, and George Akers getting up to challenge, so promising sign for Scott Hale's team.
Good little endeavour there from the men in white. It's also worth mentioning, Dewey, that our crew are obviously higher than pitch level, so they might need to vacate their spots ahead of any stoppage to the game, so we apologise if anything like that does occur. But as Dewey said, safety is paramount. We do rather like our crew here at Sky Sports.
Great ball played in, just eluding the run of Gillian, who, like all good wingers, had paired his way into the penalty area to try and get on the end of that cross. Reid Drake interchanging passes with his fullback Adam Bell. Gillian into the area, and Wood with good cover, and an important foot there from the skipper, just allowing Knowles to come and collect.
Just a little bit of hesitation here from Joe Knowles. I think he was a little bit too deep. Liam Wood looking for him to come for that ball. Eventually gets there, but Reid Drake dangled a toe in. Eventually dealt with by Miramar. There's a point to note, Dewey, that although it's wet and is greasy at times, the ball can hold up if there's some surface water. So it won't always run true.
Yeah, and it will drain reasonably quickly. About an hour before kickoff, there was a squall came through very similar to what we're seeing here now, and for 10 or 15 minutes there was surface water splashing up as I walked across the pitch, but within 10 or 15 minutes it had gone. So provided the squalls are followed by a little fine spell, I think we'll be okay, but the forecast is not good for the region. High alert for these storm conditions that are going to come through and have been battering Auckland for the last 12 hours or so.
Let's hope we don't test the organic matter in Allbirds' souls today, Joey.
No, Tim Brown's legacy has been put to work today. There's Auckland City again with patient possession. A little pressure put on by Max Falconer. So Auckland just a reset, go out the other way. Drake. Got eager. Forced into a bit of a blind alley here, but are they good enough to play their way out? They are. And now they'll stretch Miramar down the left wing side. Vale for Mannequin. As Joe Lee typically does from the right wing when he's playing, cuts across onto his left foot. Mannequin will do the same from the left wing, trying to get onto his more favoured right foot. Higher, higher is the instruction from Miramar, and they're talking about their press. They don't want to end up too deep, do they?
They don't want to lose the arm wrestle to attrition here as Auckland City look to break them down.
This is a great spell here for Auckland City. They maintain it through Vale. They are just teasing, pushing, prodding one way, then the next. Gillian. There's Drake available, but dispossessed. And now Choate, and this will be the challenge for Miramar. How long can they maintain possession. That was your answer. And Liam Wood, the skipper, driving his team forward, indeed, trying to just condense these passing lanes. It's no good standing on the toes of your keeper.
Being very disciplined at the moment, Miramar. Getting behind the ball, but equally important is getting pressure on it.
There's a chance now into the area. Woods across and does well. The skipper again. It's a couple of interventions now from Liam Wood, but they are under increasing pressure here. Gillian went through two, tries to go around a third. But, the challenge was a strong one, but I think there's a shoulder problem here. And we may well have an injury concern for Josh Rogerson. He just leant in. If we get a chance to have another look at this, Jacob, you're normally pretty good with shoulders. It almost looked like he might have popped the shoulder just in trying to lean across.
Yeah, and if he's fallen on it, you've got to be mindful of an AC joint here as well. Gillian, again, it's been wonderful so far this afternoon, twisting and turning. And I think that one's just maybe a bit of hyperextension or something of the like.
Well, this is horrendous.
We don't want Josh Rogerson to go this early on either, Dewey. He's going to be one of the players that Scott Hales looks to build around today.
Well, there's no need for a cold sponge on the injury. This is horrendous. This is about as heavy a rainfall as you will see. And you cannot see far through it.
Just wonder if we can get our cameras to pan towards the CBD. We have lost the Sky Tower. That is how thick the rain is here today.
We've lost Kiwitea Street from the ground. Don't worry about the CBD. So I think you're right, Jacob. The umbrellas are out for that. They are hardy, aren't they? Well done, the fans, for coming out in these conditions. Absolutely superb. That's loyalty for you. And not only is it a lot damper, it's a lot darker. This would be the worst of the conditions now. And that's 15 minutes after I said we had the best of the conditions that we've seen so far today.
It almost is like dusk has set in on Kiwitea Street. We've lost a lot of sunlight. Truly horrific weather conditions. Nick Waldron does have the protocols for stopping play. He's trying to tuck away from the weather himself at the moment.
Yeah, there's a couple of things at play for the officials. One I've mentioned already, and it's lightning. It's not thunder, not the thunderstorm, it's the lightning part of that electrical storm activity. But the other, Jacob, is surface water, isn't it? That if we see the ball start holding up, if there's any water pooling on the playing surface, that becomes dangerous. So Nick Waldron will be keeping an eye above and an eye at ground level.
I think it's not to guard against any sort of malicious tackling on the part of either team. It really is about players losing their feet, and if they do so in close quarters, you could get the effect of a two-footed tackle, one which by no means is intended. I'm just looking at this, Drew, and I think we're starting to get a little bit of hail as well, just to cap things off.
Stay with us for the second half when we'll have a plague of locusts. And I can see over the back a neighbour is starting to build an ark. So it's all go. It's all go here at Kiwitea Street. Meanwhile, there's a football match breaking out. And let's not forget, and we described it in the build-up, that Auckland City are trying to book a place in the grand final. So they cannot afford to be distracted by these conditions, Jacob. And in fact, Scott Hales said to me, when I spoke to him pre-game, he said, bring the rain on, because it's a leveller for Miramar.
It is, and this is what Miramar are trying to upset. Auckland City confirming their place in the final against Wellington Olympic. And Auckland City, although they haven't scored yet, they'll be trying to achieve two things today. One, that result, so they can have next week off, mentally, if nothing else. And then two, trying to match Wellington Olympic, who won 7-1 yesterday.
Falconer with a half chance on the edge of the area. Coming through was Wilson, but they opened themselves up to a little counter-attack, but one out over the sideline. Good on you, the ball kids, as well.
And I think that's what we can expect today, Dewey. On the field, it might be a bit of a cold war. Auckland City are not only playing Miramar, but they're also playing Wellington Olympic. They'll need to get a result here first, but they'll want to do so in a fashion that does send a message. That tells Wellington Olympic that they'll be able to match them in the final. And I think Wellington Olympic have been the team of this National League. They really have been informed.
Through ball cut out now. Chance for Miramar. Akers, what's he got? Has he got the vision to find a teammate? Falconer was the target. Well cut out, though, by Vale. Now, Auckland City. It's a match now. We're starting to see the splash, the water coming up. So certainly we do now have water pooling on the Kiwitea Street surface, which is going to be tested to its fullest degree today. Howison out of the byline, can't keep it in play.
I think just to cap things off, Dewey, as we do have a wonderful moment in history and Wellington occurring at the same time as this game, I think it's a magic day in the capital. So we'll get some Wellingtonians that'll be up in arms about, in particular, my comments on the weather recently.
Yes, this is Auckland, folks. This is Auckland in spring.
During the wet season, I think it's got to be renamed.
It's quite appropriate that Monsoon Poon's on the front of Joe Knowles' playing jersey.
Yeah, that ball's just starting to really slow now. The weather is beginning to break, but that's not a good sign. Kiwitea Street has done a great job with the drainage, but we don't want to see this. We don't want to delay, in particular for Auckland City. They don't want us to come back and play this game, Dewey.
No, and Miramar have made the journey. They've travelled today. I mentioned it was a disrupted landing in Auckland. It's, they'll be booked on a flight home tonight, so they can ill afford any delays. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's hope, wish, pray and cross fingers that we get through the 90. And that rain just abates now for a moment or two. Still no goals. It is Auckland City who have looked the more likely. Manicom's a long way offside, so just has to check his run.
That's a moral victory for Miramar there. Good patience, Sean. 2 banks of 4 set. The defensive line in particular has been well marshalled by Liam Wood. Joe Knowles just rinsing out his gloves there. I think, importantly, keep an eye on Akers and Falconer. They can't drop deep. They've really got to allow play to develop and then try and pinch Auckland City into the wide areas. Use the touchline as their friend and try and create a defensive overload that Miramar can then pinch the ball from and try and spring forward. Find their front two.
Rogerson, lovely little nutmeg on Drake. Akers. Mason Smith has to go backwards, just maintaining possession. Choked. Dangerous ball across the halfway line. That's why it's dangerous. Give it up here and you're in trouble. Manicom launches a counter-attack. Rolls the ball for Gillian. Gillian might try one. And just stayed controlled and making sure he hit the target. But Knowles was in good position.
Aided by the defensive shape of Choate there. Showed Gillian the line. Didn't allow him to get back in onto that left foot and open up the angle for the shot at Knowles' goal.
And again, Miramar, it's risky here. Manuel under some pressure. Cannot afford to turn the ball over, as there's one for Mason Smith to chase. And Connor Tracy had to be alert.
It's those sorts of moments that will just give Sam Mason Smith a glimmer, a half glimmer of hope. He's more than happy to play the pantomime villain here today. Just needs a half mistake from somebody.
Waldron ruling in favour of Auckland City, and they've wasted no time getting on with it. Mitchell for Brotherton. Into the midfield they go. Spaniard Collie, and for the second time in the match, it's a weak-headed finish from Angus Kilcolly.
Well, this all came from Choate just drifting inside. You can see there the space that was afforded to Gillian. He looks to stand this one up for the second wave. Kilkelly peeled away. If he chests that down to Howison, he's got a chance to continue his fine run of goal-scoring form.
Yeah, I think you're right. Jacob had more time than he thought, and got neither power nor direction on the header. Vale. So after a good 10 minutes or so of that deluge, it is important these fans will stay dry, tucked up in the stand here at Kiwitea Street, but it's important now that we get 20 or 30 minutes without too much more rain, just to allow the water that has fallen to clear and get away. We've started to see a few splashes and a few puddles forming, but it will drain quickly if given the chance. Knowles, safety first with that clearance. Howison for Drake. Good pressure from Falconer, asking for the decision, but the flag goes the way of the home side.
Two names that we haven't mentioned that much in this first 25-odd minutes are Drake and Howison. Manuel and Rogerson doing a good job of just carrying on shoulders, trying to cut off passing lanes into the dangerous number 7 and 17 for Auckland City, knowing that if the ball does get into them on the half turn, they will release the likes of Manukam and Kilcolly.
Looking to release Gillian, who's been a real outlet for Auckland in the opening 27 minutes or so, but that one just skipping off the surface and through to Knowles. What are keepers more alert to on days like this, Jacob? What the conditions? What does it change for their headspace playing on a day like this?
I think it's the speed of the ball, both in terms of passes going over the top or through the defence, but also striking it around the box. It's going to